Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that you have almost certainly struggled with. I mean, if you've ever taken an online class or navigated a digital workspace, or really just tried to learn anything through a screen.
Oh, yeah, everyone knows that pain.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore a May 2026 project by Jake Simmons. It was submitted for a BSc in Computing, and it's titled The Design and Implementation of an Interactive Student Portal with Messaging and Reward Mechanisms.
Right, which sounds very technical, but it's super relevant to all of us.
It really is. So Simmons built this functional prototype called AthenaSP, and today we are going to break down how this system solves the honestly agonizing mental strain of modern university portals. And it does this through centralization and gamification.
Yeah, and we are really dissecting a genuine evolution in educational technology here. Because, we're finally moving away from viewing digital portals as just basic administrative file cabinets.
Which is pretty much all we've been since, what, the late 90s?
That's exactly. Since the late 90s, yeah. The core question Simmons tackles is how to make these platforms start draining our energy and, start actively generating motivation.
And to understand why that's so necessary, I want you to imagine showing up for your first day at a new job. Your actual desk is in one building. Your phone is locked in another building entirely across town.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Right. And the filing cabinet is somewhere down the street. And your boss only communicates by taping sticky notes to random doors in the hallway.
You would quit. You'd quit by noon.
You would definitely quit by noon. Yet digitally, this is exactly the environment we force university students to navigate every single day.
Yeah, and it creates this phenomenon known as digital whiplash. Universities expect seamless, deep learning, but they provide this scattered, completely disjointed obstacle course.
Yeah.
When a learner has to constantly switch context, they aren't just losing time, they're actually bleeding cognitive bandwidth.
Well, I want to focus on that cognitive bandwidth for a second, because anyone who has lived in these systems, whether it's Moodle or Blackboard or Canvas, the physical sensation of that exhaustion.
Oh, absolutely.
The source material brilliantly calls this the app carousel. It's that exhausting cycle where you are just constantly forced to switch tools. So you log into the learning management system to check a grade, right?
Right.
Then you open a new tab for your university email to read a formal announcement. Then, because nobody actually talks on email anymore, you pull out your phone and open a third-party app like WhatsApp or Discord just to ask your classmate a question about the assignment. It's like trying to cook a single meal in 5 different kitchens right across town.
That is a perfect analogy.
So why haven't universities just put everything in one place by now? I mean, why is this still a problem?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, that friction is really driven by entirely competing priorities. Traditional university tools like the official email server or the LMS discussion board, those are built for institutional oversight.
Meaning they want to track everything.
Exactly. They prioritize formality and, most importantly, critical privacy protections under regulations like GDPR. So the institution desperately needs a secure, closed loop. But the byproduct of that security is speed.
Ah, right.
Those systems are asynchronous. They are incredibly slow.
Because nobody's going to wait 24 hours for an email reply when they are stuck on a math problem at midnight.
Right, which is exactly why students abandon those official channels and just migrate to Discord or WhatsApp, because those platforms offer real-time immediacy. They're actually built for modern human communication.
But I'm guessing universities hate that.
Oh, for the university administration, those third-party apps are a complete nightmare. They completely lack moderation, the data is stored on external corporate servers, and it just blurs the lines of academic accountability.
Okay, so that brings us to how Simmons targeted this exact gap with AthenaSP. The prototype effectively smuggles the speed of modern chat inside the secure walls of a university database. It actually embeds secure, real-time messaging directly into the portal itself. So you get the instant gratification of a chat app, but it's entirely contained within the institution's managed environment.
And the reduction in friction there is quantifiable. The project's data actually proves it.
Oh, wow. What did the data show?
So during the structured observation phase, they asked participants to complete identical tasks on both the existing university portal, which was the UWTSD HWB portal, and then the new AthenaSP prototype. On the old system, students had to juggle 3 different tabs and navigate multiple logins just to complete a basic workflow.
3 tabs just for one workflow.
Yep. But AthenaSP required just one single tab.
That's amazing. And the time savings are incredible to look at in the report. Basic navigation tasks took about 15 to 20 seconds on the old portal. On AthenaSP, that dropped to 10 to 13 seconds.
Which is huge.
Right. And that might sound like we're just splitting hairs over a few seconds, but think about the scale. You multiply those saved seconds by dozens of interactions every single day, stretched across a 4-year degree.
Yeah, the compound reduction in sheer mental friction is massive. So we've basically solved the app carousel fatigue. The portal is now undeniably efficient.
Right.
But as we know, efficiency is only half the equation. I mean, a spreadsheet is highly efficient, but it doesn't really inspire anyone to learn.
It really doesn't. Yeah. And that leads us to AthenaSP's second major component, which is the gamification.
Yes.
We're talking points, badges, leaderboards, all of that. But okay, let's unpack this for a second.
Sure.
I'll be honest, getting 10 automatic points for just showing up to a lecture feels a bit like Pavlovian conditioning. Aren't badges and leaderboards just superficial edutainment? I mean, does treating a university degree like an arcade game actually lead to better learning?
That is such a valid question, and you are hitting on a major debate in educational technology right there.
Yeah.
It's actually a risk that the literature Semon cites explicitly warns about.
Okay, so he was aware of it.
Very aware. If you just slap a leaderboard on a bad interface, it fails completely.
Mm.
But AthenaSP's design bypasses that superficial level by grounding its mechanics in established psychological frameworks.
Right.
The two main pillars here are self-determination theory, often called SDT, and flow theory.
Walk us through how those theories are actually translated into code and features. Like, what does SDT look like in practice?
Well, self-determination theory posits that human beings achieve intrinsic motivation, meaning they actually want to do the work for its own sake, only when 3 core psychological needs are met. And those are autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
Okay, autonomy, competence, relatedness.
Exactly. In AthenaSP, the system architecture addresses all 3. So autonomy is supported by giving the student choices in how they navigate and tackle tasks within that unified dashboard.
Makes sense.
Competence is where the points and badges come in. They provide this visual, undeniable tracking of mastery.
Yeah.
It gives the user the concrete feeling of, I am conquering this material. And finally, relatedness is built through the social features, like that embedded messaging system we talked about, and the communal visibility of achievements.
Okay, I see how competence plays into tracking progress. But wait, isn't there a severe risk of the opposite effect? Like if I log in and I look at a public leaderboard and I see I am 500 points behind the top student, my perceived competence drops to 0.
Oh, absolutely.
I am likely going to just quit.
And that is the exact danger of hyper-competitive design. Public leaderboards are fantastic for highly driven, top-performing students, but they can be actively demotivating, even paralyzing, for lower-performing students.
Yeah, it would just stress me out.
Exactly. Gamification falsely assumes everyone is motivated by crushing their peers, and this is why flow theory has to act as the counterbalance.
Ah, okay. Flow theory is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's concept, right? That state of deep immersion where you completely lose track of time because you're just so dialed into a task.
That's the one. And a flow state only occurs when the challenge of a task perfectly matches a person's current skill level.
Right.
If the challenge is too high, you get anxiety, which is exactly what happens to that student at the bottom of the leaderboard. But if the challenge is too low, you just get boredom. So a well-designed gamification system dynamically adjusts. It provides early, easy wins to build baseline confidence, and then it scales up the difficulty.
And looking at the prototype's back-end logic, Semons implemented a hybrid approach to handle this balance.
He did.
There are automatic rewards driven by basic database triggers. So the system checks if it's a new attendance record, and if yes, the database automatically awards 10 points.
Right, which gets you in the door.
Exactly. It creates a baseline of consistent engagement. But then there are manual rewards. A lecturer can actually log in and intentionally award a specific qualitative badge for exceptional work.
And that manual intervention is so crucial. The automatic points draw on basic behaviorist habit building, but a badge that's manually awarded by a human professor carries profound social weight.
Because it's real recognition.
Yes. It's genuine recognition, which feeds right back into that SDT need for relatedness. The literature shows that an over-reliance on purely automated extrinsic rewards, like just chasing points for the sake of points, will eventually destroy a student's intrinsic curiosity.
You have to balance the algorithm with actual human connection.
Precisely.
So how did real people react when they were actually put into this environment? we have the psychological theory, but the developer used a mixed methods approach to prove it, right?
Yeah, he combined a 15-person survey with a 5-person structured observation.
And that mixed methods approach is so vital for user experience research. The quantitative survey data gives us the broad trends, like what's happening. But the qualitative observation gives us the narrative, the why it's happening.
Yeah, it prevents developers from just living in an echo chamber of their own assumptions.
Right. And the quantitative numbers for the gamification elements were incredibly strong. They scored a massive 4.53 out of 5 for increasing motivation and enjoyment. Yeah. And during the post-observation interviews, 100% of the participants stated they preferred AthenaSP over their current university portal.
100%. You rarely see that.
Right. And they specifically highlighted the reduction in mental strain.
Because it measurably altered their emotional response to doing academic work. It completely validates the integration of self-determination theory.
But, okay, there's a glaring contradiction in this data set. You look at those glowing scores for motivation, and then you hit the evaluation for the messaging integration. Wait, the messaging integration scored an abysmal 1.27 out of 5.
Yeah, it really did.
Did the messaging system just completely fail? Like, did he just write bad code?
Actually, no. And this specific failure is one of the most illuminating parts of the entire project. It highlights a harsh reality of software engineering that everyday users rarely see. The code itself was fundamentally sound. The deployment is what collapsed.
Okay, break down what happened behind the scenes there.
Sure. So when it came time to host the prototype on the internet for public survey testing, the developer utilized a free shared hosting service called Infinity Free.
Oh, free hosting.
Right. And real-time messaging is incredibly demanding on a server. It requires a continuous connection to check for new data. AthenaSP attempted to accomplish this using a technique called AJX polling.
Okay.
Essentially, the code tells the browser to ping the server every 2 seconds and ask for updates.
Okay, so for anyone who isn't a web developer, AJX polling is basically the digital equivalent of a kid in the backseat on a road trip. Every 2 seconds, the browser yells to the server, "Are we there yet? Do I have a new message?" And the server has to process that request and answer every single time for every single user.
That is the perfect analogy, and it is incredibly taxing on system resources. So because Infinity Free is a free shared host, they actively monitor for this kind of behavior.
Makes sense.
When multiple public survey participants started pinging the server simultaneously, the hosting provider's automated protections just kicked in and explicitly blocked the AJX requests.
They essentially turned the car around and shut the kid out.
Exactly. The feature completely broke during the public test, which resulted in that 1.27 score.
So the infrastructure choked out the software.
Yeah.
But there is a massive caveat in the project notes. During the 5-person structured observation phase, the chat worked flawlessly.
Yes, because that smaller observation phase was conducted locally using an XAMPP environment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, XAMPP is a software package that essentially turns a standard laptop into a self-contained offline web server. So without the artificial resource constraints of a free web host, the AJX polling executed perfectly. The students could create group chats, send instant messages, and securely attach files without a single glitch.
Wow. So you can design the most elegant, psychologically optimized interface in the world, but if the hardware architecture underneath it is weak, the entire user experience just crumbles.
It really does. If a university wants to build something like AthenaSP, they cannot cut corners on the server budget. They need dedicated virtual private servers or advanced WebSocket technology that can actually handle the constant heavy data flow of modern communication.
Right. But keeping the server from crashing is only the foundation. A perfectly functioning backend doesn't mean anything if the interface gives the user a migraine.
Oh, absolutely.
And that brings us to the visual side of cognitive load and how AthenaSP was designed from a front-end perspective. Because aesthetics and UX design aren't just about making things look pretty. They are deeply functional.
Very true.
If a screen is cluttered or if the contrast ratios are poor, your brain is forced to work overtime just to parse the raw visual information before you even begin to think about the actual academic content.
And Simmons made highly intentional visual choices here. The project is named after Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom, and the branding carries that mythology into the color palette.
Oh, I love that part.
Yeah. The primary color is a deep navy blue, and it's paired with a rich gold accent.
And those colors do a lot of heavy lifting. The navy blue conveys trust, and it anchors the interface without being as harsh as pure black. And then the gold acts as an indicator for interactive elements and rewards.
It draws the human eye exactly where it needs to go without screaming at the user.
Exactly. And they use this font called Enter, which, if you read a traditional serif font, the ones with the little decorative feet on the ends of the letters, like Times New Roman, your eye flows easily across a printed piece of paper. But on a digital screen made of tiny pixels, those intricate little details can blur.
Right. Your brain's visual processing center has to work a microscopic fraction harder to decode every single letter.
But Enter was designed specifically for computer screens. It removes that decoding friction, which is so vital when a student is staring at a monitor for a 4-hour study session.
And he didn't stop at just colors and fonts. Simmons also built a Google Translate widget directly into the navigation bar. With a single click, the entire portal seamlessly toggles between English and Welsh.
Which is huge for a university in Wales. Bilingual support is a hard requirement to meet the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG. Allowing a student to navigate a complex system in their primary language drastically reduces the cognitive load.
It's a phenomenal implementation of inclusive design. However, while we're analyzing the front end, we really have to highlight the developer's most significant critical reflection. Simmons openly admits he fell into what he calls the desktop-first trap.
And if you are sitting there listening to this on a smartphone, you are the exact reason this trap is so dangerous.
Yep. When a developer sits down to build a complex layout like a 3-column dashboard with a messaging interface and a sidebar, it feels natural to design for the massive wide monitor sitting right in front of them.
Because that's what they're looking at.
Right. But the problem arises when you inevitably have to make that wide layout mobile responsive.
And the project notes detail how painful this was. They had to go back into the code and rewrite massive amounts of their CSS. They essentially had to rip apart the Flexbox layouts, which is the code that distributes space.
Yeah, trying to force a desktop layout into a mobile grid is like trying to shove a massive pre-packed suitcase into a tiny car trunk. You have to take everything out and repack it from scratch.
And the lesson there for anyone working in EdTech is absolute. Students live on their phones. The physical context of the learner dictates the software architecture. Mobile-first design isn't optional anymore.
No, it's really not. The structure of the code has to reflect the reality of the user's environment.
Pulling all of these threads together, the ultimate takeaway from AthenaSP is incredibly optimistic. Simmons has provided a proven, data-backed blueprint showing that the miserable app carousel is entirely unnecessary.
It really is.
By centralizing our tools, optimizing the visual interface, and integrating deep psychologically sound gamification, we can transform these student portals from static file dumps into genuinely motivating digital ecosystems.
The prototype proves that educational platforms can be something students actually want to use. But, as we look toward the future of these technologies, it leaves us with a fascinating psychological question to consider. Well, if future platforms successfully use learning analytics and gamification to automatically track your every click, every message, and every attendance record just to keep you engaged, at what point does a highly personalized, motivating learning environment stop being supportive and start functioning like an academic surveillance state?
Wow. That is an incredibly fine line between fostering intrinsic motivation and exploiting human psychology. Because bringing everything into one perfectly organized room solves the frustration of the scattered office. But it also means the system knows exactly which buttons to push to keep you logged in.
Exactly. It's something to think about.
It definitely is. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take a look at the digital portals and platforms you are forced to navigate today and ask yourself, are they designed to support your focus or are they just draining your bandwidth?